What's going on, Lomax? This is Pastor Mark. I hope everybody's doing well on this Wednesday evening. We're going to joining me for Wednesday leftovers. Thank God for you. I pray all is going well. I pray your week is going well. Just wanted to stop by and give you a lesson that maybe help you through the week. Um, we're gonna dive a little deeper into last Sunday's message, which was everybody won't stay. I hope that message found you well. I hope there were some things that were said or done that can really help you along the way. And what I want to do now is just invite you to either be on the Zoom page. If you're not on the Zoom, we can kind of put that up there and on Facebook Live. So thank you again for being a part of what we're doing. And I just want to right now for just a moment or two, if you would, I want to go into prayer. So if you don't mind, let's have a little word of prayer. Then we can go into this afternoon's or this evening's lesson. Father, again, we ask you to give us wisdom and knowledge into your word, insight into your word, that we'll take it and apply it to our lives, that Father, that we be better as a result of having studied your word together. I pray now for wisdom and knowledge and insight. That we will rightly divide your word, that we won't be ashamed. And we ask this in Christ's name. Amen. Amen. All right. Again, I want to welcome everybody to Sunday Leftovers. And we'll go, let's see here. The message on Sunday was taken from John 6, and it was 60 through 66. And our anchor verse was really verse 66. And it says, from that time, many of his disciples went back and walked with him no more. And what we did was, let's see. Okay, all right. And walk with him no more. Before we get deep into the message, I want to give Barrico Sumauer his mom's birthday. Give her a shout out. And you guys are celebrating with her. Tell her I said happy birthday. Pray blessings on her. That she have a wonderful birthday. Amen. Wonderful birthday celebration. And but what I wanted to talk to you guys about briefly, man, just give you some nuggets here about this passage. We talked about everybody won't stay. And what I mean is that there were disciples that walked away from Jesus. They walked away from him. They didn't stay the course. They didn't stay with him. And there were reasons for that. But what this is a life lesson that I think that's important for all of us, that anytime you are in God's purpose, there will be people that won't stay with you. That there'll be some that just won't stay. They didn't stay with Jesus, and he was the Christ. He was the Son of the living God, and they walked away from him. And so I don't want to get you I don't want to give you the wrong impression, but there will be people in your life that just won't stay with you, that they'll leave you. They will not walk with you in every part of the journey. And matter of fact, some are meant to leave. And I think that's what I really wanted to hang my hat on, that there was a divine plan for them to leave. And Christ knew from the beginning there were those who weren't going to leave. And everybody won't stay. And I had 3 points with that, and I'll go back and go a little deeper, but I'm gonna summarize those points by saying everybody won't stay because everybody won't understand. They don't understand you. Everybody won't stay because everybody won't approve. Everybody won't approve of what's going on. And then everybody won't stay because everybody doesn't believe. So there will be people who won't stay with you because they don't understand, they don't approve, and they don't believe. And what I mean when I say they don't understand what God is doing in your life. They don't understand. They don't have discernment. They don't have spiritual insight into what God is doing and God is doing through you. And they won't be there for you. And then when I say everybody won't approve, I'm simply saying that there will be some that just don't want to see you um, fulfill God's purpose for your life. There'll be some that just won't stand with you. They won't get it, and then they won't be there for you. They won't approve of what God is doing in your life. They'll complain and question, and then there'll be some that just won't believe. They just don't believe in what God is doing through you, in your life. And what I want to do is encourage you to understand that they weren't meant to stay. And matter of fact, when we read verse 64, or I think that's the part in 65, I said that they're called to leave. They were never called to stay. So I think that's a good thing for some of us, that we understand that everybody ain't called to stay with you. So I gave that quick summary. Let's deal. And if you have any questions, you guys slow me down and let's talk about it. So if we go to John 6 and we start at verse 22, well, let's say let's go to verse and I want to say, I'm sitting here in the word here. Let's go. Let's go to verse 28. Verse 28. And it's kind of in the middle. And let me set this up. Jesus had just walked on the water. He had just walked on the sea. He had just completed a miracle. And what you see now are he's teaching the disciples that followed him to the other side of the sea. And he was teaching them, and he was talking to them about something that he had never talked to them before. And I'm going to start at verse 22. And Guy has put that up for me, verse 22. He says, on the following day, when the people were standing on the other side of the sea, saw that there was no other boats there except that one which his disciples had entered, and that Jesus had not entered the boat with his disciples, but his disciples had gone away alone. However, other boats came from Tiberias near the place where they ate bread after the Lord had given thanks. And when the people therefore saw that Jesus was not there, nor his disciples, they also got into boats and came to Capernaum, seeking Jesus. When they found him on the other side of the sea, they said to him, Rabbi, when did you come here? Verse 26. Jesus answered and said to them, most assuredly I say to you, you seek me because you saw the signs, but because not because you saw the signs, but because you ate loaves and were filled. Do not labor for food which perishes, but for food which endures to everlasting life, which the Son of Man will give you, because God the Father has set his seal on him. Then they said to him, what shall we do that we may work the works of God? And this is where it gets good, y'all. This is Jesus answered and said, this is the work of God, that you believe in him whom he sent. Therefore they said to him, what sign will you perform then, that we may see it and believe you? What work will you do? Our fathers ate manna in the desert, as it is written, and he gave them bread from heaven to eat. And Jesus responded by saying, then Jesus said, most assuredly I say to you, Moses did not give you bread from heaven. My Father gives you the true bread from heaven. For the bread of God is he who comes down from heaven and gives life to the world. And then they said to him, Lord, give us this bread always. And now this is the confrontation right here. So Jesus is trying to get them to see and get them to understand and discern who he really is. Trying to get the disciples, he's giving them, and I'll say a parable type of answer. And he's relating it to the bread that Moses gave the people of Israel when they were in the desert. And he said, but Moses gave them bread, but I am that real bread that comes from heaven. So in verse 35, what you see, Jesus said to them, I am the bread of life. He who comes to me shall never hunger, and he who believes in me shall never thirst. But I said to you that you have seen me, and yet you do not believe. All that the Father gives me will come to me, and no one who comes to me, I will by no means cast out. He again refers to this calling that God has, that God is allowing those to see him as he is, and then some are not able to see Christ as he is. So in verse 38 it says, for I have come down from heaven not to do my own will, but to do the will of him who sent me. This is the will of the Father who sent me, that all he has given to me, I should lose nothing, but should raise up at the last day. And this is the will of God who sent me, that everyone who sees the Son and believes in him may have everlasting life, and I will raise him up on the last day. He is giving them the purpose, the full purpose of his mission. He's telling them that God has sent me to give you this spiritual bread. He's speaking in spiritual context. And there's a lot of his disciples that just didn't get it. Again, Christ was always speaking to them on spiritual terms, and his disciples were still thinking of this crude literalism. This bread. Where's this bread we just ate? They were really thinking literally bread. And Christ was trying to tell them that this bread I'm speaking of is spiritual and not physical. So in verse 41, it comes back, the Jews complained about him because he said, I am the bread which came down from heaven. And they said, is this not Jesus, the son of Joseph, whose father and mother we know? How is it then he says, I have come down from heaven? So again, here comes the doubt. They are looking at him and they are not understanding who he is. As a matter of fact, this is, and I like this verse because what it says is that it gives a glimpse into his humanity. They only know him as the son of Mary and the son of Joseph. And I want you to get that. That's important. It's powerful because he's both God and man, but they could only see him as man. So they only saw him as the son of Joseph and the son of Mary. And when he says, I have come down from heaven, they didn't understand his divinity. And anytime you don't understand God's divinity, anytime you don't accept his divinity, you'll never get to the place where you will accept God. Okay. So verse 33, Jesus therefore answered and said to them, do not murmur amongst yourselves. No one can come to me unless the Father who sent me draws him, and I will raise him up on the last day. Again, he's talking about we have not, and this is good. We didn't choose God, he chose us. And we talked about that 2 Sundays ago, that we couldn't come to him unless he drew us, unless he called us, unless there was something in us that drew us to him. We would never be able to come to God on a cord. So verse 45 says, it is written, as it is written in the prophets, they shall all be taught by God. Therefore, everyone who has heard and learned from the Father comes from me. And not that anyone has seen the Father except he who is from God. He has seen the Father. Most assuredly, I say to you, he who believes in me has everlasting life. I am the bread of life. Your fathers ate manna in the wilderness and are dead. This is the bread which comes down from heaven, that you may eat it and not die. Now, get this, he says again, I am the living bread which came down from heaven. If anyone eats this bread, he will live forever. And that bread that I shall give is my flesh, which I shall give for the life of the world. This messed the Jews up right here. So now he's talking about some They believe he's talking about some cruel cannibalism. Now you got to eat him. We got to partake of his flesh. What is he talking in order to be saved? Is what does he know about what happened to Moses all those years ago? So they are literally taking everything he says literally and physically without understanding the spiritual nature in which this conversation is taking place, or this lecture is taking place. So they don't get it. They don't get who he is. They don't get what he came for. I think it's a lesson for it's a warning for those of us who profess to be Christians and don't get it. And we're trying to understand, we're trying to view Christ from a physical lens or through a physical lens. We won't ever get it. This is a warning for a lot of us. You're looking at your life through a physical lens. You're looking at what God is doing through your life through a physical lens. You will never, ever get what God is doing in your life if you only see it through a physical lens. God, look, this body, this flesh, this temple, this tabernacle is fading day by day, is going back to where it came from, to the dust, to the dirt, to the ashes. He's not concerned about all this temple. He's concerned about that thing that's inside of us, that houses this treasure that we have in its earthen vessel and that God has put in us. And he is trying desperately to get us to see his mission, his ministry through us from a spiritual perspective. And those were disciples who followed him. There were others, they didn't get it. Okay. So let me go to a question. How do you know when God is removing someone from your life? Let's get right down to it. How do you know when God is removing someone from your life? That's really removing or has removed someone from your life. What normally happens is that there is a distance that takes place. There's a disconnect that takes place. There is a difference in your path and that person's path that takes place. If at one point in time you were going in the same direction, that doesn't seem to be the case anymore. Not that you don't have different points of view. You may have the same point of view, but you don't have the same purpose. When God starts to remove people from your life, we often don't understand it at first. The first emotion we have is hurt, because sometimes we think it's us. What did I do? And we start searching. God, what did I do for this person? Why doesn't this person doesn't call me? This person doesn't interact with me. This person doesn't have fellowship with me anymore. What did I do? And we start looking for what we've done to distance this person from us. And I don't think we consider this as something that God orchestrated until sometime later. That you don't see it until sometime later, until you've accepted this distance and you see where God is taking you, and only through the rearview mirror, only through that looking back can you see that God removed this person, or God allowed this person to be removed from your life. Keisha, there's a lot of times, there are a lot of people that have been removed from my life, and I was hurt, bothered, just down about it. And I began to ask myself and pray, what did I do? I mean, I must have really made them upset at me. And I began to look for reasons. And that didn't happen. It was only in retrospect, when I look back at it, that I see that God was doing something in me. And that person was just in my life for a season. And I'll answer your question in a minute, Sister Keisha Jones. But the season thing is what I think a lot of us don't get. That people sometimes are in our lives just for a season. And when I say for a season is no predetermined length of time. You can't count a season in days, in weeks. It's a period of time that happens. And I believe there are a lot of people in our lives that come for a season. They're there to help us get from point A to point B. Some are there to teach us a lesson. And then their job is to move on. And I think that we want to hold on to some people past their season. When their mission is over in our lives, their job is to move on. And I think what we've done is we've held on to people past their season. When you hold on to someone past their season, what happens when something is out of season? It doesn't produce. Does that help any? It doesn't produce. It doesn't fulfill anything. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't do what it's designed to do. So when God is removing someone from your life, I'm going to go with this and say the relationship ceases to be productive. Now, let me answer Sister Keisha Jones's question. Does God show you a person's behavior over and over again when he's trying to remove someone from our life? Let's see. Does God show you a person's behavior? Sister Jones, explain that to me a little bit better. Help me.
Okay, so like you say that the relationship ceases to be fruitful. So if you are not wanting to get rid of the relationship because you've had a relationship for so long or whatever, but a person's behavior consistently hurts you.
Mm-hmm.
So and it's like you're not going out seeking the behavior, it just comes to you. You know what I'm saying? It's not like you're digging.
You're not seeking the person. You're not seeking the person, or you're talking about the behavior.
I guess either one. But I guess in this case, you're not digging for behavior. It just comes to you. And so if God is showing you showing you this person and showing you, because they all their behavior seems to hurt you, the things they do, the things they say, is that God removing that person, trying to get us to a place to where we can say, okay, God is trying to remove this person and cut them off.
So let me ask you this. This is an easy way to tell. What does the relationship produce in your life? What does it produce? What is it doing? What purpose does it feel? Is it something
at this point?
I like you said that real quick. And nothing, it ain't doing nothing right now. Nothing. I mean, absolutely.
Can I ask, before you finish that question, can I ask this? So what's the difference between, so if God is removing them out of your life, so I feel like cutting people off is the same thing as spiritual homicide. So how is it, where's that thin line, or where's that line to where it's not spiritual homicide of cutting someone out your life, and the difference between God removing that person from your life?
Okay.
Good. See, yeah. Okay. Yep.
Okay. So let's look at it like this. Let's look at the text. Did Jesus walk away from them, or did they walk away from Jesus?
He did walk away from them. I mean, they walked away from him.
Okay. They walked away from him. Did he chase after him?
Of course not.
No.
Okay. So he didn't change, they changed.
Good. Very clear. I see.
I don't like that. Okay.
Yeah, I know. See, the thing about it is, we're looking to be we're looking to cut the thing off. We're looking to cut it off. We are looking to do, man, I'm tired of this person, I'm gonna cut them off. That's not what we do. When I say everybody won't stay. If you stay the course, if you do what God is calling you to do, if you are fulfilling God's purpose, there will be some, and I maybe should have said, when I say everybody won't stay, there will be a lot of people who will drop off. But you don't have to cut anybody off. You don't have to get a knife out. You don't have to say anything ugly to them. You don't have to roll your eyes at them. They will fall off willingly. And what you have to be willing to do is accept that. That's where I'm coming from. We chase after people who've dropped off. They dropped off the bus. They got off at the stop, and we go back around and go pick them up. We allow them to stay when they're trying to leave. We're trying to encourage them to stay. That's what I'm saying. We are saying we are saying to them, don't leave yet. I need you still. I need you in my life still. And they have given you every indication that they don't believe in what God is doing in your life. They don't support what God is doing in your life. They have become toxic to what God is doing in your life. And we still want them to stay because for whatever reason, we feel like we need them to stay. They make us, they affirm us, or they make us feel more alive or better, or for whatever reason it is, we want them to stay with us. And what I'm saying to you and to those who are listening is that sometimes God will allow people to leave your life, and it is for the better. And we can't go back and pick them up because they left. And this is what the text is alluding to when Jesus says, the text says, and they walked with him no more. Jesus did not kick them out. He did not tell them, I need you to leave. He did not tell them to do this. They got their own bag. They packed their own stuff and they decided to leave. And what I'm saying is that even when they first started following him, he knew there were those who would not stay with him. He knew that they weren't going to stay. And what I'm trying to relate to us, and I hope I'm helping, because believe it or not, it's helping me as well, is that there will be some that will just drop off. And it's okay. It's okay for them to drop off because they have already fulfilled the mission. They have already accomplished what they were set out to do. And we have to get into this understanding of seasons. There is a season for everybody in your life. Everybody won't stay with you. This past season, my dad left me. He couldn't stay with me my whole life. He left. His season was over. My grandmother's left me. My grandfather's left me. That's not going to be the only one. There will be people who season it over either by death or by separation or by choice. They decide to leave you. And you're like, what happened? Why did you leave me? Like that old country song, you picked a fine time to leave me, Lucille. Why did you leave me? And what I'm saying to you is that God allowed these people to leave because their season was over. And when someone's season is over, we have to be mature enough in our faith to accept it. We have to be mature enough in our faith to accept it. Any other questions, y'all? Any other questions? I'm hoping I get some more questions, some more feedback, but this is good. So in verses 53 through 59, he was teaching his disciples. The Bible says he was teaching them in a synagogue. This was teaching in a church. He was teaching them in a synagogue in Capernaum, and he was telling them these things. And he was telling, for my flesh is food, my blood is drink. It's an alliteration to communion. He was talking about, my bread, the blood. We say that it's not in a literal sense, but we understand they are symbols of his body and his blood. And when he gave the disciples this illustration, he began to show them these things. And he began to talk in ways that they didn't understand, because he was talking from a time before them. He was referring back, my Father sent me. I'm from heaven. I was the man. I was more than what the manna was for Moses when the children were in Israel. If you take part of me, you will never be hungry or thirsty again. They didn't get it. So from that day, there were disciples who said, we can't get down with this. And they left. And what I'm saying to you is that when you begin to walk in God's purpose, this is critical. When you walk in God's purpose and you get in tune with God, there will be people who will fall off to the side. Just like when an apple tree when the apples in an apple tree are ready, you really don't have to shake the apple tree. It falls off on its own. You know what I'm saying? The apples fall naturally from the tree. There'll be some that'll stay. You might have to go up and get some. But there are a lot of apples that will just fall to the ground. You don't have to do anything. Nature takes care of that. When I was growing up, my neighbors had an apple tree. We could just pick apples off the ground. We like climbing the tree, but we didn't have to climb the tree to get apples, because apples naturally fell to the ground when the apples were in full season. And what I'm saying to you is that there will be some people that you won't have to shake hard. You won't have to say anything ugly. You won't have to say anything mean. You won't have to do anything. They will just fall away. And what we have to do is be able to accept it. And Sister Lakeisha, somehow you said that's the hard part. And when they leave, how are we to draw them to God? It's not our job to draw them to God. Christ says, if I don't draw them, you can't come. Christ is always compelling people to come to him. And what they have to do is receive Christ for themselves. The part about that question, and it's a good question, because then it leads us into something else, that the ownership for accepting Christ has to be on the person. That we can't save someone. We can't make them come to Jesus. We can't make them walk by faith. We can't do any of those things. They have to be willing to do it on their own. So this is the beauty of it. He calls us to help those that have already made those steps, that they've drawn themselves to God. They're walking in the faith. Our job is to walk alongside them and help them mature in their faith. That's where our role is. When someone comes to Christ, our job is to help them mature in their faith. And what we have done is we have not done a very good job as a church in doing that. And we can take that how we want to take that. So, anybody else got any good stuff? Y'all got some good stuff for me tonight. Anybody else? Again,
I guess we're still struggling with the like what was going with Lakeisha's comment, so to speak. She was like, we were having a discussion, like, so when you are trying to draw, even though those are God is pulling at your life, I guess it's like, how are you to help them find Christ? Or how are you to help them, not necessarily the people that he's pulling out of your life, but how do you help anybody that is supposed to be a season or a reason or a lifetime, whatever that choice is, how are you supposed to help them see God? I know God does it all, but how do you plant the seed is the best way I put it.
So how do you plant the seed? Let's see.
Do you just continue living your life, or do you constantly keep telling them about it? Like every time you see them, like, let me tell you how good this God is. I got, I'm like, is it base?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're walking in God's purpose and you're doing what God has called you to do, how can I say this? There are people who will come around from time to time, see what's going on, see how you're doing. And I think from just your question, how do we handle them? Well, we don't change. We don't change our walk and our talk because someone is coming in and out of our lives. I think what I struggle with is I struggle with the idea, and let me say, it is not my responsibility. I am not accountable to God for how someone else walks with God. I am accountable for how I treat them. I am accountable for that. I am accountable for how I love them. I am accountable for how I share the gospel and disciple them if they choose to be in relationship with me. But what I'm not responsible for is someone's own individual choice, whether they choose to walk with God or not. That I don't have that kind of I don't have that kind of power. I don't have that kind of I'm going to go back to a saying that I have. I've said it my whole life, and well, not my whole life, but somebody taught me this, and I want to share it with you. And I hope it helps. That I can't want salvation for them more than they want salvation for themselves. I can't want it for them more than they want it. I can't drag them more than they want to walk or more than they want to crawl to the altar. I can't drag them there. They have to want to come there. And the only way they can come there is if they're called there. Now, once they get there, once they have this relationship with God, then I am obligated to help them in their relationship, to mature in that relationship. My responsibility is I can share with them the gospel. I can proclaim the gospel to them. I can preach and teach the gospel, and they can hear it. But it is up to them to receive it. And if they hear it and they receive it, they have a responsibility to respond to it. And if they don't respond to it, I can't make them respond to it. And when I say that everybody won't stay, that's hard for people, because you're thinking that, why would somebody want to not stay? You're thinking not just stay in my life, but stay with Jesus. And I think that's what you're saying. Why wouldn't they want to stay? I can't answer that question. There are some people that just won't stay for whatever reason. I mean, I was when I was going to school, and A guy came in one time, he just said, I had enough. I mean, he said, I don't believe it anymore. I don't want to heed to it anymore. And he said, I just want to tell you guys bye. He said, I'm not going to be coming to class anymore. I mean, this was a theological Bible study. I mean, we had, professors in there who've been teaching for years. He said he said people will quit and leave. He said that. He says people will quit and leave. I was just in shock. I couldn't believe it that the guy, because I mean, he was a sharp young man. Seemed he was full of passion. And one day he came in and said, I had enough. He said, I'm having a crisis of faith right now. He said, I can't do it. Can I be honest with you guys? It's just us. Can we be honest with each other? If you have not, and let me get real close. If you have not had a crisis of faith at some point in your life, you have really not challenged your faith. You have not, this is just me, but you have not put your faith to the test. You have not exercised your faith. If you haven't had a crisis yet, if you hadn't thought about putting it all down, if you hadn't thought about giving it all up, if you never thought about just throwing in the towel, if you never thought about quitting, then you never put it all out there. I dare say everyone has had some crisis of faith at some point in time. Now, what do you do with this crisis of faith? That's the question. These disciples left. The text says they left. I'm not going to deal with the last part of that, because Sunday after next, I'm going to deal with the second part of that. There's a second part to that message, and I'm going to deal with that on Sunday after next. But there will be those who will not stay with you. They won't. They won't stay. And as hard as it is for us to understand it, to receive it, to be, I don't even know if we can be happy about it. Let's see. Everybody, let's see here. Man. Everybody just won't stay. I'm gonna need somebody to look up my comments for me, because I heard I have some comments on Facebook, but I can't see them. Okay, I see that. All right, Sister Lawana, I see you. It says you can lead us to the water, but you can't make us drink. I totally get it. That's right. That's it. The relationship doesn't click like it used to. So I want to encourage you. This is what I want to do. I want to encourage you. I want to encourage you to not be so. Don't be down about what God is doing. Don't be discouraged about what God is doing when some people are not there with you. If they left Jesus, they may leave you. But that doesn't mean your journey's over. What that means is that God has a purpose for your life, and that there are some people that just aren't called to stay, because guess what? They would not allow you to reach where God is trying to take you. They might discourage you. They might not support you. They might not lift you up. They might not pray for you. So what I want to tell you is to take heart, be encouraged. Sometimes when God allows people to walk out of your life, it's because they are not going to be there with you when God starts to move and do things in your life. So don't be upset, and don't get down about it. This is what I want to share with you. I don't know how I got to this point, but look, y'all, I'm learning now to celebrate when God moves someone, or God allows someone just to drop off. I'm learning that God, thank you, that person just may not have been meant for me to be in my life in this season. It's okay if the relationship changes. If that person was at one time there and now that person has distanced themselves or is not there, and you're still walking with the Lord, then just be encouraged and say, you know what, I'm gonna allow this thing just to be what it is. And then, God, I'm just gonna thank you for it. Rico, I'm glad that you and your wife could be with us tonight. I know you said you got to go. Tell your mom, send her birthday wishes and blessings from me. So I appreciate it. Anybody else got any comments? Man, this is good stuff. I mean, I really want you to be, this is not meant for you to be down about. This is just meant for you to understand that everybody just won't stay. And when you understand that, and when you accept that, you will be okay. That's the message I want to leave you with. I don't want anybody to get discouraged about this, because this is not what this is about. This is about what God is doing in your life. And when God is moving in your life, sometimes people won't be there. And it did not stop Christ's mission. It did not stop Christ's mission. And I want you, when you get a chance, to read verses 67 down through 71. And we'll deal with that in a couple of weeks. But man, it's been a blessing. It's been a joy. It's been a journey. And I thank God for the journey. I thank God for everything that has happened to me while I've been on this journey, because all it has done has encouraged me and kept me going. It hasn't been easy. I've shed tears. I've been in pain. I've been hurt. I've had some long, like the song says, I've had some good days and bad days. But when I really think about it, I'm not going to complain, because God has really been too good to me to complain. So I want to encourage you, when someone drops off, don't be discouraged. Just know it's part of God's plan. Anybody got any last minute comments before we go? Any last minute comments? Sister LaWanna Smith, I see you out there, and I want to say thank you for your comments. See if there's anybody else out there comment before we go. Let's see, before we leave. See if you have any last minute comments, any questions. I'd love to hear from you. Y'all, I tell you. I tell you what, I've enjoyed being here with you tonight. I've enjoyed being here with you tonight. I've enjoyed this lesson. My prayer is that you get joy out of every season in your life, even those seasons where there will be some that are no longer there. I still pray you get joy from that. I pray God will continue to bless you, watch over you, keep you. As you move through this life, remember, everybody won't stay. And that's the way God intended it. Everybody won't stay. So if there are no comments and there are no questions, I want to say again, God bless you and God keep you. May God continue to smile on you. May he lift up the light of his countenance on you, bring you love, joy, and peace. I pray for a blessing on the rest of this week. Continue to pray for those that are sick and shut in. We're still in the midst of a pandemic. I have some good news. Let me give you this. Let me leave this with this last little bit of news. 2 Sundays from now, we're coming back into the sanctuary. We've decided we're going to come back live. and I'm excited about what God is doing. We're going to come back. We miss everyone, and we're coming back to Church Live. So I encourage those who can come out to 3220 Sherman Street, 11 o'clock. Lomax Temple, I believe it's on the 17th. If I'm thinking I got that right, I hope I do. But pray God's blessings on you. Pray that God will continue to watch over you and keep you as we continue to move to greater and greater heights. There are no other comments. I'm going to pray. Father, again, thank you for this day. Thank you for people. Thank you for this lesson. Thank you for those who participated. Thank you for those who will hear it, who will share it, who will understand it, who will receive it. Thank you for those who will walk in your purpose. And I pray, God, that you continue to strengthen the hearts of those and the minds of those who walk with you. And I pray God's blessings on them. And again, thank you so much for all you do. Keep us safe in your keeping care until next time we come together. Amen. God bless you. God keep you. And have a great rest of the day. Take care, and we'll see you soon.